In this video, we're talking about Cissy Strut by the Meters. It is a New Orleans funk staple. We're going to get into it. Before we do, let me tell you, everybody says that there's a right way and a wrong way to play this. I kind of disagree, and I'm going to tell you why. I think there is the original way, and then there is the way that kind of morphed out of John Scofield's version of this. Now, I am obviously a fan of the original version. I spent many years in the bass chair with Zigaboo Modeliste, and I think it's important to share with you that when I joined that band, most of the guys in that band were from the West Coast. Myself, Zig, and Kelly Spyboy Jones. We were the only people from New Orleans. And listen, Zigaboo has his own catalog of music. So we did play Cissy Strut, and we did play like this block of Meters tunes, but we played a lot of tunes from Zigaboo's book, his repertoire. The West Coast guys, they would a lot of times play it the wrong way, because this is the way that a lot of folks have played it in jam sessions and all of that stuff. When I play it the way George played it, or my reinterpretation of what George did, because I'm never going to sound like George. George is never going to sound like me, and that's okay. You're not going to sound like me or George. So we're going to talk about some of the feel considerations to make this thing happen, because that is what's important. First port of call needs to be the minor pentatonic scale. It's funny I say port of call because there's a restaurant down here in New Orleans called Port of Call. The minor pentatonic scale is like the ruined gumbo. We're playing that C minor pentatonic, but we're going to leave out the 4. Let me play it all for you right now. Descending: C, B flat, G, F, E flat, C. Here's the line. I've done double bass duty with George before. I've seen it up close, and I'm gonna sound like me. You're gonna sound like you. Okay, this is how I do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's the A section. Now, what I want you to be aware of is that when we're talking about groove and feel, this New Orleans funk is more laid back. It's hot down here. It's, I grew up in New Orleans. We ain't in a rush to get nowhere. Okay, they don't call it the Big Easy for nothing. It's laid back. The thing is, even though Zig plays like he's got, 8 arms, the pulse. We're still feeling that, right? A lot of times we want to intellectualize this funk thing, man. I kind of disagree with Prince when he says if you could describe it, it ain't funky. I think you can describe it to a point, but then, when I think about all the bass players that I grew up with, listening to, looking up to, these cats are not like theory wizards. They didn't go to music school. They're not going to rattle off, all the notes on the bass or, a whole lot of theory. They're not going to do that, right? They're playing their lived experience. And so they're part of the lived experience. I can't tell y'all some of the inside stories that you can imagine a bunch of brothers from New Orleans in the 60s, what they might have been doing when they were in the studio jamming. Okay? It's laid back, man. It's laid back. I'm not saying that you have to do that. Don't do that. That's not what I'm saying. The whole point is, also, I'm not playing this with drums because who's in charge of the time? I am. The drummer is. The guitar, everybody's in charge of the time. Everybody's in charge of the feel. So even though You see that? What I did there? That was just a little lazy minor third into the major third. Lazy. Now, look, I'm going to show you another place to play this. When I started playing with Zigaboo, I was playing my Mike Law M5V. That's the bass that I was playing mostly at the time. Zig's gig, when I was playing with him, he got his own material, and a lot of it called for 5-string bass. Some of that stuff was played by Daryl Anders out in the Bay Area, who's, you know, a 5-string guy. And so I had to play some of the meters tunes because I wasn't bringing 2 basses on the gig typically. So what I would do on a more modern instrument is play that line. Now, why would I do that? Because the strings are thicker and it sounded fuller. I exaggerated that there, but I want to show you some of the lilt. I don't want to call it slop because it's not necessarily slop. It's just relaxed. It's laid back, right? Why would I encourage you to try to play it there as well? Because if you have this, you know these shapes repeat themselves on the bass neck. Now you're training yourself to shift. Up here. You see what I'm saying? So that you get some other stuff here and here. So for instance, having all that, you've got access to different things in different places. So that's the whole point there. Now, our B section, we've got our box. The box shape, foundational to all sorts of bass lines. I mean, pop, funk, rock bass lines, or blues are gonna root 5, flat 7, octave. Man, that's something that you like. Week 2 of playing bass, you got to know that shape, I think. You know what I mean? So root 5th, flat 7. That's another way some people play it. They'll play this. When when George is playing. Now I have added, that's my language that I'm put in there, right? Now I'm using my own vocabulary and putting my own stuff in there because I'm not a robot. And neither are you. The feel is still there. One of the things I would kind of find myself instinctively doing with when I was playing this with Zig was kind of mimicking his hi-hat part, not on purpose, but because I'm a part of the rhythm section, obviously. But you know, if drums are the foundation, then the bass is like the frame, right? We're playing rhythm and harmony. What I want to also point out is the use of space. You could drive a truck through there. And then we've got the solo section. And when you're, you know, in jam sessions, in jams, you know, you're going to go back and forth. You're going to deviate from the form depending on the jam and who you with. I don't know if I've ever played this at like a shed session or a jam session or on a gig where somebody called the tune where we just played it exactly like the record, because you got a few different people, they're going to solo, and it's just going to be over this. We're just playing the root and the fifth, really. And we're jumping off on the higher octave of that fifth, which is G. Now that's mine. So what we're pulling away from this is that you can get the line, and see the problem with like staring at tab and note, you know, even standard notation, especially for music like this, is you don't get the feel. You don't get the feel, right? So you got to have the ideas and the framework, and then you got to dance with it, man. You got to, you know, you got to, you know, imagine that, you know, that attractive person walking down the street. You know, let me be politically correct. You got to imagine them walking down the street. We're playing lived experience. You see what I'm saying? And that is something that I don't think you can read in a book. And even though I'm making this video and I'm showing it to you, you got to spend time with it. Not in no book. Okay? You got to spend some time with it. All right? If you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to answer them if I can. All right? So, groove first, groove hard, groove always. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace. Two fingers.